What's up, everybody? How are y'all doing this evening? Welcome back to Synalytics Crypto. My name is Mike. We are going to talk about a couple things that have happened since the last video I made yesterday afternoon. Now, if some of you guys watched that video, it was the one about Sora, XOR. I did talk a little bit about my feelings towards the sentiment of having a pullback and how that would actually be very healthy for the market. However, this one was a little strange. Not that this hasn't happened before, but this is starting to happen on a grander scale. And there's a lot of moving parts that dictate exactly what went on and exactly what we need to do to protect ourselves to avoid certain mistakes and to be ready to capitalize on the market movements. So let's look into the market really quick right here, you guys. We are sitting at 1.624, so we've lost a little over $100 billion in market cap. Now it's recovered since the major drop since then, but we're definitely looking at some manipulation here, you guys. We're looking at the whales being whales and splashing around in a little pool, making some noise, making some waves, and affecting the market. And really, they're very good at it. And what they're doing is they're trying to shake us out of our position so that they can get more. So there is a bit of a divergence happening right now. There's a bearish sentiment in the short term as far as the pullback that needs to happen. There's also an overall bullish sentiment. So really there's nothing to worry about here, guys. The only thing that you should worry about is if you got caught up in this, and it appears that a lot of people have gotten caught up in this. I want to go over a couple of cryptocurrencies real quick, mainly ADA. Cardano is what I'm focused on right now because it is my biggest holding, and it's also the one that I believe in the most for, I think, steady overall gains that are going to protect your overall market value that you have invested in crypto. That's just my personal opinion. A lot of the people that watch my channel share the same opinion. So let's talk about it, you guys. I do want to look at Cardano really quick just because this is the one that I think tells the best story as to how to increase your position should you choose to kind of put a little bit of money aside and see if you can catch the dips, because the dips are going to continue to happen. The manipulation that just took place today is going to continue to happen. It is not a bad thing for the market as far as the overall health, but it can be a really bad thing if you, like I said, get caught up in that. So let's just pull up the chart on Cardano and we'll look at the 24-hour business that has gone on. The good thing I will say for this particular cryptocurrency is that the strength for Cardano that it's holding is actually a really, really good sign because it recovered very, very quickly. We're still hanging in above the dollar mark, which is great because that's the kind of the base, I think, now for Cardano, other than flash crashes, is going to be about $1, maybe a little bit less, but it's going to get bought up pretty quickly, just like everything else in this market got bought up pretty quickly. But to see it hang in there and to recover so quickly is really good. It's not going to push us into a bear market. We might not be done with the pullbacks here, you guys. I've been wanting to do the $1,000 to $10,000 strategy. I want to start that whole thing because I want to give some crypto away, and I want to see if I can do that journey just like some of the other people are doing, but kind of do it my own way in more of a conservative approach and kind of a long-term. Anytime you can 10x your gains, that's a really good thing. So I did put that on hold because of the pullback, because I smelled it yesterday, you guys. I felt it. I knew this was coming. I didn't think it would be quite so radical, but here we are looking at exactly what happened. Recovery's been great. So I did put that off for a little while. I'm going to kind of see how the market goes a little bit and find out if I can get some better entries onto some of these. But I'm also considering kind of maybe putting in some low buy orders just to see if they trigger, because a lot of people, you guys, did really well. There was winners and there were losers in this whole thing. And the losers we'll talk about in a minute because we're going to go over some of the news, but the winners were the ones who had money on the side. And they sat there and they put a limit order on whatever cryptocurrency they're trying to get in. So when those dips happens, they just catch them. And a lot of people actually did. So good for you guys. I wish I would have done the same thing, knowing that I did see this kind of coming, but I didn't. So that's on me. But we will go over those things when I actually do some of the trading live on the channel. But for right now, let's just look at this chart. So we're kind of cruising, and then boom, we have a market fallout. We have some serious manipulation happening in Bitcoin first, because it does happen in Bitcoin. When Bitcoin kind of takes a dive, everything takes a dive with it, with the exception of a very, very few. But look at that bottom right there. So this one is saying it got down to right around 92 cents, but on other exchanges, it was vastly different. Some people were saying that they caught Cardano at under 80 cents. So that might not always reflect on coin market cap, because it takes most of the information from some of the bigger exchanges and whatnot, but there were flash crashes where people did get some pretty heavy dips on that. And you can see it recovered, and then we kind of like get a little bit of fear. People kind of start to go, I don't know what to do, and they're selling and they're buying and they're trading, and we get right here, we get an identical double peak. Look at that. This peak is exactly the same as this peak right here, with a big little trough right in the middle. I mean, this is a very, very strange pattern here. But at the same time, because of all the market madness that has gone on, we don't really need to look too much into what happened between here and here. But then, we go back down here, and now we're starting to recover. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. Nobody's ever really sure. But there was a massive shakeout, you guys. There was like $1.6 billion in liquidation. So this is even bigger than the shakeout that we had last week on the 15th. So like I told you in yesterday's video, these things do happen. You've got to be prepared for them. And for right now, let's look at some of the news, because some of the stuff's pretty crazy. First one, Kraken users demand a refund over flash crash liquidations. Good luck with that, guys. That's not how it works, but there definitely was a flash crash. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I just kind of want to go over it with you. Kraken users are demanding compensation after a violent flash crash. February 22nd saw the single largest daily candle in the history of both Bitcoin and Ethereum by linear value. That's pretty amazing, you guys. That could be scary if you don't understand this market, and that there always will be a recovery, but there will always be the downs with the ups. With BTC dropping around $9,500, that's Bitcoin not that long ago was just at 10K, you guys. Now we're having candles drop out at just about where the value was not that long ago. That should tell you something. That should tell you that definitely there is money pouring into the cryptocurrency market as a whole, but we are going to, and as Bitcoin continues to climb towards 100K and eventually passes 100K and gets up there, we're going to see some violent dropbacks. So we're going to try and be prepared for these things. It went from 57,000 all the way down to, gosh, some people were saying it dipped as low as like 40, the high 40s, which is still pretty crazy with, such a deep candle, and Ethereum as well. Let's go on. However, it appears that the combination of weak buyer support and cascading liquidations, that's the key right there, cascading liquidations, resulted in particularly heavy losses on Kraken. I don't use Kraken, but it sounds like a lot of people on Kraken that were doing anything with leverage trading. I don't even know if you could do that on Kraken, but I guess you can. They got wrecked today, guys. They got wrecked because this is the whales game. That's what they do. They know that if they trigger some short and they get the price to kind of wick down a little bit, it's going to start triggering a bunch of liquidations on the longs. And so what that does is it drives it down even further, and that's how you get flash crashes. That's the nuts and bolts of how these things happen. BTC falling 22% to less than 45K. That's insane. ETH declined 64% to find support at just $700. If you're holding your cryptocurrency and you're not doing anything with leverage trading and getting yourself in a position to where you can get liquidated, good. You don't have anything to worry about, because if you're just holding your asset, you don't lose anything unless something gets triggered. If you have a sell order or a buy order or a stop loss, you can just hold and kind of wait for everything to come back. I didn't lose anything in this market crash because I'm not leverage trading. I would never leverage trade. I actually recommend highly against it. Nor do I really have stop losses. I'm not in this to stop, my crypto from going down and having it triggered at a certain point, because most of the time that's a loser's game, especially in a bull market. It's different in a bear market, you guys. But right now we're still in an overall bull market sentiment, so it's not good to be setting those kinds. You're better off just taking profits on the way up or the way down than just putting it in someone's hands and letting it sit there. So it goes on to say, really sad story. One guy lost his life savings and haven't received a response from anybody. He put himself in that position. I'm sorry that happened to you, my man. That sucks. We don't want to see anybody in crypto lose money. We're all here to make money, but you can't blame the exchange, because it's up to you to protect yourself, really. it just kind of goes on to talk about more about the flash crash that happened, particularly on Kraken. I'm not too concerned with that because, like I said, I don't use Kraken, but there are other articles here that get more into the details of what exactly happened. Altcoins and DeFi sell-off after Bitcoin's 17.6% correction. You see, the numbers are different. So on Kraken, it went down 22%, and overall kind of 17.6%. So not all exchanges have the same, because there's different volume and there's different people in different positions, and it can really trigger some total bottom outs and some peaks, blow off tops as well. So in the early morning trading hours, Bitcoin price abruptly dropped 17.6%, which triggered major downturn throughout the entire market. Data from Cointelegraph Market and TradingViews shows that Bitcoin decreased from a high of 58,000 on February 1st to a low of 47,000 on Monday, before buyers returned to lift BTC to its current value of 53,000. So the good news is that when a drop like this happens, when smart money starts to come in and buy it up, they're buying the dips. They're being smart. So this is actually really good news that the bull market is by no means over at all. We're going to get into some more news that confirms that. Despite today's $1.6 billion liquidation event, that's huge, you guys. So many people just got beat up from that. It's such a shame. Bitcoin bulls remain optimistic about the future of the top cryptocurrency, with key indicators suggesting that those buying today's dips are likely to come out on top. Duh, you think? That's the whole point. Bitcoin went from $10,000 in October 2020 to almost $60,000 in just 4 months. That's insane. $50,000 looks like the first stop for a mild pullback, but a second leg down could take it down to $40,000, while $30,000 zone looks like the ultimate bottom should things turn ugly in the short term. Now, should things turn ugly in the short term, you guys, don't try to short the market. Don't try to long the market. Let this balance back out, because it will be just fine here in no time. But, these things could happen. And if they do, it's still healthy for the market, you guys. We need to have these pullbacks, because and if you look at historical information, after a lot of these big pullbacks, these 30%ers or more, that's when you get the 100% pumps. So, like I said, don't worry unless you're playing the leverage game. If you're playing the leverage game, get out, guys, because someone's about to get wrecked. Recent money printing by central banks. We don't really need to read that. It's just talking about the overall strength of the market, raising yields. I want to talk about that. We're going to go here. Sustained institutional buying will hold Bitcoin above $50,000. That's a good sign. In a report shared with Cointelegraph, institutional crypto trading platforms, large investors will not let Bitcoin fall back below $50,000. That's true. There's a lot of truth to that. We have a lot of big buyer investors involved in Bitcoin in particular. And you guys, they're not going to let their assets that they just poured a bunch of money into, some of them hundreds of millions, and Tesla even 1.5 billion, they're not going to let that stuff tank. If it happens, that's their opportunity to come buy more. So is there a dip happening? Yes. Is it long term? No. Are we entering a bear market? In my opinion, absolutely not. Not financial advice, but when you read and you discover facts like this, it really gives you an overall perspective. So let's get on to this. Combined with positive business development in the industry, such as MasterCard's decision to integrate certain cryptocurrencies and BY Mellon's newly launched custody service, that's awesome, Cross Tower believes the outlook remains bullish for the digital asset market. The firm also described the growth of corporate Bitcoin treasuries, such as Tesla's 1.5 billion acquisition, as strengthening the bullish case. Quote, "We believe the record amounts of addresses holding 1,000 plus BTC in recent weeks is proof of rising institutional interest and likely reflects the many headlines in January and February of institutional buyers becoming active in Bitcoin. In our view, many institutional investors are entering with a buy and hold mentality. Buy and hold mentality, you guys. Learn from this. Given their understanding of Bitcoin as digital gold. The on-chain data suggests that these investors, traditionally seen as smart money, saw the January price weakness as an opportunity to acquire BTC or enter the space, which supports our bullish view of BTC. Fantastic. We're going to confirm this with the next article, Why Companies Will Mirror Tesla's Bitcoin Strategy. This is a great little article here. Offering a fresh perspective on Tesla's Bitcoin investment strategy, Daniel Ives, managing director, thinks that Tesla would double down on its Bitcoin investments, stating that other public companies are going to follow suit. I've said in a recent interview, no doubt this is something Elon Musk and Tesla, they're going to dive into the deep end of the pool on Bitcoin, because they're not just doing it from an investment perspective, but from a transaction perspective. That statement is gold right there. According to Ives, Tesla's Bitcoin strategy is not just a fad, rather the start of a new age on the digital currency front. The asset, which has had a yearly hike of more than 443%, you guys, even crossed the 1 trillion mark in terms of capitalization. Bitcoin dropped more than blah, blah, blah. We already went through some of that. Such volatility in the market may not change Musk's mind with regard to his company's BTC investment. I mean, yeah, 1.5 billion is a pretty big deal. In addition, I've said in the terms of investment that 3 to 5% of public companies will mirror Tesla's Bitcoin purchase over the next 12 to 18 months. We'll stop right there real quick. That's fantastic, because what that does is that signals that this is going to be a bull trend for quite some time. In fact, maybe it could be a shifting of the guard. So again, I repeat, when these shakeouts happen, you guys don't have weak knees. In a bear market like we experienced in the beginning of 2018, that was totally different. The investment, the big timers weren't here yet. It was all retail. And I guarantee you that there are already companies, public companies with a lot of money already investing in Bitcoin right now. Some of them may be waiting for a pullback, but I think a lot of them are actually like just buying up Bitcoin. And this news doesn't happen right away. Because when they buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin, you guys, they don't buy it straight off an exchange. They do an over-the-counter transaction, which doesn't affect the volume and the price of that asset. It's only when the news comes out that they indeed state, because they're publicly traded companies, they have to disclose within probably 30 days, I would believe, or maybe within the quarter. I don't exactly know, but at some point they have to disclose it. So, in other words, when Tesla bought Bitcoin, they were buying in like the 30 to 32K range. It didn't come out till later, and that news drove us up to pretty much where we are right now. So this is already taking place. This will continue to take place. This will be good for the market as a whole. But the whales, you guys, the whales are just smashing the liquidators. They're smashing the longs, just like they smash the shorts. It's a game, and you've got to protect yourself, because these games are being played by people with a whole lot of money. He quickly added that unless there is regulatory clarity in the crypto market, no more than 5% of companies will invest in the asset. I do disagree with that a little bit, because he doesn't know that. With regulatory clarity, absolutely. That will open the floodgates for basically everybody almost having to hold Bitcoin on their asset budget, because the investors are going to want them. They're going to say, hey, why aren't you holding Bitcoin? We're invested in your company, and this speaks to the safety of where they're putting their money. So eventually, I think a lot more of these are going to happen. 3 to 5, you guys, even just 3 to 5% of public companies, that's a lot. And if those companies allocate even a tiny percentage, I'm talking like even in the 1 to 2% range of what they hold into Bitcoin for a long-term investment, that's how you are going to see some people are talking about Bitcoin hitting upwards of 300K this year. Nobody knows if that's going to happen for sure, because nobody can see into the future. But if you diagnose everything that's going on and you start to realize that these kinds of things are happening, then yeah, we're going to have those moments when Bitcoin gets into the multi-$100,000 of a range per Bitcoin. But at the same time, if we're getting wicks and candles that are already starting to go down by almost 10K, imagine the swings that are going to happen when we're 100,000, when we're 200,000, when we're $250,000 per Bitcoin. You're going to see $30,000, $40,000, maybe even more swings. And the game's always going to be playing. It's never going to stop, you guys. It's always going to continue on. So what is my advice, if I could give any? It's to set limit orders. If you have taken profits from the ridiculous gains that we have seen in the last 8, 10, 12 weeks, put that money aside in USDC or in Tether. Set the market limits. If you want to get in it on ADA, lower than $1, buy some. Look, there's no risk involved at all, because if it doesn't hit that, it it doesn't happen. You're not losing. You can cancel the order at any time. I will do a tutorial on that, you guys. I will do a tutorial on Binance US on exactly how to do that. I will fold it into the 1K to 10K challenge because I'm going to use a small portion of that 1K initially to try and get into some of the cryptocurrencies that I want to use for our first layer at a cheaper price than they are today. We're not going to do straight. We're going to do limit orders, and we're going to also do market orders. So it's going to be fun, you guys. In the meantime, hang in there. I know it can be scary. I know we've gone over these things before, but not everybody sees all my videos. So I did see this coming, and I still see the volatility ahead before we start to smooth out. So just be careful. Happy investing and trading to you guys. One more thing I wanted to point out. Anytime you see Tether over $1, that means people are coming back in. You're not really going to see too many times when Tether's less than 99 cents or over $1. It's just too big of an asset now. It's got $35 billion. So when Tether was younger and it was like, only a couple billions, you would see sometimes Tether would swing from like, 80 cents to $1.20 or whatever. Then it started to level out. But right now, what this says is that a lot of people have money on the side waiting, which means most of them have actually sold their assets to put into Tether to hold. So Tether being the largest market cap stablecoin is a good indicator of exactly that game that we just described. Having money on the side, waiting to hit the dips. Now you can, if you sit there all day at home and you have the ability to just kind of watch the market in real time, it gives you more of an advantage because you can pull the trigger right then and there. But if you can't do that, like I said, the limit orders are great because they give you a chance to get into the market at a better price, and then hopefully you make some profits, and then you just wash, rinse, and repeat. If you do this wisely and if you put the time into it, you can really increase your positions on some really good cryptos, you guys. So that's about it for today. I appreciate you joining. If you made it this far, gosh, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do so. If you like to engage in the platform without, I'm never here to sell you guys anything. I'm not trying to make money off my subscribers. The best way for you to help my channel is to subscribe. It's to tell a friend. It's to interact by leaving comments down, because I love to discuss these kinds of things with the people that are watching my channel regularly. And again, thank you so much, you guys. Everybody have a good evening. I can't wait to get to some of these comments and discuss exactly what's going on. Be aware, guys. The whales are out there trying to eat all the fish food. Let's just not let them do it. Have a good evening.